Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today we do have a lot to get through again on the Australian weather scene. We're going to start things off with weakening tropical Cyclone Neville south of the Cocos-Keeling Islands, still remaining a strong Category 3 strength severe tropical cyclone, but terminal weakening is expected to start pretty soon. Then we're going to be talking about some heavy rainfall and thunderstorms occurring over far northern Queensland and parts of the Northern Territory, and then we're going to talk about a very wet phase that the remainder of eastern Australia is going to be heading into over the next kind of 5 days or so. Quite a bit to get through, so make sure you are subscribed, leave a like on the video as well while you're at it, and click the join button as well to get access to some exclusive perks on the channel. Let's move over to Tropical Cyclone Neville right now. You can see the system still holding strong, and it has been for the past 12 hours. But as I did mention in yesterday's forecast update, we are now seeing the storm move over more unfavourable atmospheric and environmental conditions, and as such, the weakening phases that this storm is going to be experiencing are now starting. Wind shear is really starting to pick up for the storm, which is going to rip the thunderstorm activity around the centre of circulation apart, and it's probably going to blow it completely away from the tropical cyclone centre as well. So it's not going to look like a tropical cyclone in about 2 days' time. It's going to look like a messy system that you might see in the Coral Sea moving towards New Zealand. It's not going to be a pretty storm, that's for sure, but it has been over the past 12 hours. It did undergo an I-rule replacement cycle basically after I said that it was going to happen in yesterday's forecast update, so that's cool. And that has weakened the storm a little bit, and it did it in a pretty unfavourable atmosphere and thermodynamic area where sea surface temperatures weren't as warm as they possibly could have been for the storm. So it hasn't really done itself any favours, this tropical cyclone. It is now probably going to terminally weaken from here. Maybe a little bit more strengthening is possible at times during today, but after tonight, then it's just going to be all over for the storm as it starts to head into cooler sea surface temperatures as it moves further south and towards the southwest, and it'll probably enter a more unfavourable environment. You might be able to notice that this cloud through here, where the cursor is kind of circling right now, how it's kind of just this wispy, fast-moving blue cloud. Well, if we switch it over to a different sort of imagery, it is just a little bit more evident. Now, this is a sort of cloud that's indicative of very high levels of wind shear, and when the storm does head about 200 kilometres further towards the west into this high levels of wind shear, this is when we're going to really see it stripped apart. Considering the storm is moving towards the west at about 15 kilometres an hour, it's got at best about 12 or 13 hours before it hits that very high levels of wind shear in this environment, and it will start to weaken off. So instead of about 24 hours, like I did just say, it's probably only got about 12 hours left to possibly intensify before terminal weakening will start to happen. But it has had a very good run. It was a beautiful system at its peak intensity. It did approach Category 5 status. I do personally believe that it did briefly attain Category 5 status with peak winds of 120 knots on the 1 minute side of things, which would actually be a Category 5 status on the Australian scale, but I do also believe that the Bureau of Meteorology is well within their right not to have called this system a Category 5 strength storm. It didn't exhibit many features of Category 5 strength storms, and the wind estimate was solely based off satellite presentation, which, as we do know, can be quite wrong with these small systems. They can be either significantly stronger than what the satellite imagery says or significantly weaker. Some of these small systems, they are quite confusing at times, especially on the satellite imagery, and as they are rapidly intensifying. So once again, the Bureau of Meteorology nailing this storm over the past 24 hours. They've done a really good job tracking this storm over the past 24 hours. They did a terrible job predicting this tropical cyclone. I mean, they had it forming and impacting Western Australia at some point. That didn't happen, and none of the forecast models ever predicted that happening either. The Eastern RF had it going the closest to Western Australia, but again, they backed that off after a couple of forecast runs. And they also called for this system to peak as a Category 1 strength tropical cyclone, and then a Category 2, and then what do we get? We get a borderline Category 5. So these small systems, they can be very difficult to predict and track, so I don't blame the Bureau of Meteorology for getting things catastrophically wrong once again. But if this storm did go for Australia, there would probably be quite a rude response to the Bureau of Meteorology, because again, these small systems, they are hard to predict, but there was always room for this storm to go to Category 5 status, and a courtesy warning from the Bureau of Meteorology in an event like this, it would be welcome, especially by storm trackers who just enjoy tracking these storms and do have a lot of trust in the Bureau of Meteorology. Of course, them being the Australian National Agency, I do have trust in them as an agency. However, it's when they make mistakes like this, it's kind of like, well, you could have at least warned us. You guys are meteorology scientists after all. and warning us that the conditions do actually are conducive for a Category 4 or 5 strength tropical cyclone. That just shows a very high level of maturity on their part. But again, they are the Australian National Agency, and they do a great job in other places. So I'm not slamming the Bureau of Meteorology at all. I'm just, I don't know, maybe a suggestion for them up in the top office. Anyway, that is more than enough rambling on Tropical Cyclone Neville, especially considering it's not an Australian cyclone threat. Taking a look at the Australian picture right now, you might be able to make out quite a lot of thunderstorms up in the northern parts of Australia where the cursor is. They're really starting to blow up across far northern Queensland right now, and they are delivering some very heavy rainfall around the Cairns area, up towards Cooktown and the Daintree as well. I think Cairns right now is just missing out on it, but if we were to take a look at radar, I imagine they're about to get some significant rainfall. You can also see a lot of this low-level cloud now streaming across central Australia and into Queensland and the northern parts of New South Wales. That's going to blow up some cumulus thunderstorms activity probably a little bit later on in today, and that's going to start a 5-day rainfall event there, which we will get to in just a couple of minutes. But first off, taking a look at our friends up in far northern Queensland, we're going to start things off, of course, with the weather radar and see what's happening up there. Actually, right now, some heavy showers moving through the Cairns area, also some heavy rainfall, moderate to heavy rainfall moving up around the Cooktown sort of area, north of Port Douglas and the Daintree, and some heavy showers moving around Cardwell, Ingham down towards Lucinda, and heavy showers as well extending right down the coast down towards Mackay. So anywhere north of what probably would be the Wide Bay sort of area, up towards probably Thursday Island, the entirety of the central and northern Queensland coastline, to be fair. Expect up towards 25 to 50 millimetres today, and the further north you get, probably up that towards 50 to 100 millimetres. There's heavy showers moving through the area, and certainly some of these showers could be heavy enough to drop some significant rainfall totals, and there is always the risk with these heavy coastal showers of some isolated areas of flash flooding. Normally this part of Australia is very good at handling heavy rainfall. However, if you get a couple of heavy showers in a very short span of time, flash flooding always is a risk. There's also some pretty heavy rainfall, some pretty widespread and heavy rainfall as well, moving up towards the Cape York Peninsula. I mean, look at this, just outside of Moomba and Laura. You're talking about a widespread area of at least 10 millimetres an hour, and this stuff is very slow moving. It's got no intention of moving at all. And this is the sort of stuff that can dump up towards 150 millimetres in a day, and that is also what is possible. And if we were to take a look at the rainfall right now, the initial forecast, I did say that Saturday and Sunday was going to be a wet day, even about a week ago, so that's a pretty good forecast on the forecast model's part, not my part, I guess. But yeah, about a week ago I was saying Saturday and Sunday are going to be pretty wet days, especially the morning. The rainfall should start to ease off a little bit this evening, and then Sunday we're expecting more of a sort of pulse thunderstormy, showery activity sort of thing, with maybe some big rain patches firing up over the Cape York Peninsula Sunday evening as well, Sunday afternoon into the evening hours, outside of Cairns, Atherton and Revan. And this is also when we're expecting the rainfall to really start to pick up for Central Australia as well. There's already some rainfall moving through Central Australia right now. It's not really being picked up on the weather radar as being significant, but again, this is sort of rainfall where it's going to dump 50 millimetres per day over the next 5 days, and this is golden for Queensland and New South Wales. This is the sort of rainfall that they have been desperate for years. Not this 150 millimetres falls in 6 hours and completely floods the joint, but this is 50 millimetres a day for 4 or 5 days, totaling up towards 200 or 250 millimetres. This is going to be liquid gold for central Queensland and parts of New South Wales as well. Very happy for them from this rainfall. It's going to pick up in intensity throughout the course of today as well, especially for areas around Charleville and Roma. They're going to receive maybe up towards 25 or 30 millimetres today. It'll also pick up Sunday evening in the form of some thunderstorms as well for central Queensland. And again, Monday as well, Monday afternoon into evening, some rainfall there before it contracts closer towards southeastern Queensland by Tuesday evening, and then into Wednesday it really does pull out of South Australia and the Northern Territory, and then more in towards far northern New South Wales and then southeastern Queensland, and then more sort of coastal Queensland from Wednesday onwards. But I mean, this is rainfall extending into Thursday, consistent light to moderate rainfall, and this is, as I said, liquid gold for them. Over the next 24 hours, the heaviest rainfall will probably be up towards 100 millimetres. It's not enough to cause major flooding, but still the risk of flash flooding and riverine flooding up towards the minor and the moderate river levels is certainly possible. Over the next 3 days, be expecting rainfall totals up towards that 150 to 200 millimeters. That could cause some flooding as well, and that's going to be especially prevalent across the Northern Territory. And then over the next 5 days, the rainfall really does start to pick up, and you're looking at rainfall accumulations up towards 200 millimeters. Roma looks like it's going to be the wettest of the locations. The GFS is also supporting that sort of forecast around Roma and Charleville, expecting the worst of the rainfall there, up towards 150 or 250 millimeters. The Axis G3 model calling for the rainfall to be a little bit more concentrated further inland around Charleville, but right now it looks like it's going to be a Roma-based event, but again, just very widespread, up towards 50 to 80 millimeters for a lot of central Queensland, and again, there will be places that pick up towards 200 or 250 millimeters, and it's going to be in a moderate sort of rainfall event, nothing too heavy. There will be heavy falls here and there, but these light to moderate falls that aren't going to cause flash flooding, and at worst going to cause minor to moderate riverine flooding. This is just golden stuff for central Queensland, and this is a rainfall that they have been begging for the past sort of 5 years or so. So it's finally coming, and it is a really good forecast over the next 5 days. But do remember to stay safe in an event like this. There could be some areas of flooding, even though it's not looking like a major flooding event. Again, there could be some areas that have some flooding. So over the next 5 days, it's actually going to be more so over the next 3 days. The bulk of the rainfall will be around the Cairns, Townsville sort of area, or between Townsville up towards Cooktown, probably exclusive of those locations actually. And there will be places that pick up towards that 200 millimeters up here. Nothing crazy, but still some significant rainfall accumulations. But it's going to be sort of in the 10-day forecast period towards the end of the forecast run, where we do see this tropical low start to fire up again by around Thursday and Friday, and we see another onshore flow here. And this coral sea tropical low through Thursday, Friday, and then into Saturday as well, especially next Saturday. By the looks of things, as Easter Saturday, we could be seeing up towards 500 millimeters fall over the next 10 days as a whole for parts of the Cassowary Coast, which is some pretty significant rainfall totals. Again, we'll be watching this very closely throughout the week. It doesn't look like we're going to be seeing a fully fledged tropical low, definitely not a cyclone out of this event. I didn't think that we were going to be seeing one, but it's kind of set in stone now that we won't see one. But I do still reckon that we're going to see a pretty significant rainfall event occur between Good Friday and Easter Monday. So it'll be a pretty wet Easter, that's for sure. No Easter egg hunts outside, and the eggs will get saturated. But it's definitely going to be an indoorsy Easter, and probably the last really good rainfall for the wet season of 2024 as well. Hopefully, because up in far northern Queensland, they definitely don't need any more rainfall. I guess there is definitely still the want for more rainfall. Rainfall's fantastic up there, and they all love the rainfall up in far northern Queensland. But I don't think anyone loves 2,000 millimeters of rain falling in a week from Tropical Cyclone Jasper, and that really did set wet season 2024 off on a bad note, that's for sure. It feels like it was just yesterday, but we're now pushing about 3 months ago for Tropical Cyclone Jasper, in fact probably more. So I'm hoping the recovery effort is going really well up in the Cairns area from Cyclone Jasper. It was a major cyclone, that's for sure, and it just goes to show, don't be fooled when a category 1 comes ashore. It's not just a strong gale, it can dump some insane rainfall totals. And it was similar to what we saw with Cyclone Kirrily. I remember a lot of people really discounting the system because it weakened significantly and it didn't match up to the forecast in terms of peak wind speeds upon landfall, but it did cause an awful lot of rainfall in already saturated areas, especially towards Lucinda and Cardwell, and it did cause some pretty devastating flooding up there. So there's nothing to be really discounting in a tropical cyclone. They can be quite nasty weather events. The GFS, interestingly, has had a tropical low developing in this sort of bay area just south of PNG between Port Moresby and Daru, and some of the, what are they, the Torres Strait Islands, I believe, north of Thursday Island. It has had a tropical low developing there by around Easter Sunday, but it really isn't looking like that's going to happen until maybe Easter Monday, and the fact that the GFS model is pushing it back even further just tells me that it's not going to happen at all at this point. So that's a little interesting thing from the GFS forecast. Again, I just don't think it's going to happen. We're definitely moving into our full-blown autumn period right now, as we see April start to unfold now across parts of Australia. So autumn is going to be sort of that more drier sort of area, especially for Western Australia, but we're going to start to see these cold fronts move through for the extreme southern parts of Australia, and you can already see now we're already expecting just a little bit of snow Easter Monday by the looks of things. The GFS calling out for just a little bit of snow in the highlands around Tasmania, a little bit of wet snow there, and we could be seeing some snowfall accumulations, probably approaching that 1 to 3 centimetre mark. So the first snow of the season could be occurring in the next 10 days or so. It's not really backed up by other forecast models. The ECMWF and the Access G3 model are not suggesting that we see some snow there, and it will be very dependent on the arrival of this cold front as well. Timing's got to be very good for snowfall this time of the year, but we're going to be focusing a lot more on southern Australia, around Victoria, Sydney and so forth. Snowforth, a bit of a stumble there, over the coming 6 months or so on this channel. We'll still take looks at the tropics, especially when necessary, but breaking it up with different content as well. And we're going to be giving our friends down south a good look at the weather as well, and it looks like we're definitely going to be watching this snowfall event because some possible snowfall for parts of Tasmania. That's very interesting indeed. And it looks like it could happen as well. We're looking at the 1st of April for this event here. But yeah, it's definitely that changing part of the year where we start to see some changes in the weather. It dries up in the northern parts of Australia and it really starts to cool down across Victoria and New South Wales. And it's already cooling down in Perth as well. I mean, these 15-degree nights are very, very nice, let me tell you. Once you've experienced a 30-degree night, it's dreamy stuff, 15 degrees Celsius. And in fact, it has been quite cold on some mornings. But yeah, I'm starting to ramble on here. If you haven't already, then please do consider subscribing to the channel, and also a special shout out to the channel sponsors. Their names on screen right now. Your support really does mean a lot. Thanks so much for leaving a like on the video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.